Welcome to Never Rewrite. I'm Isaac Askew.
And I'm Jeffrey Sherman. And today we're going to discuss how you can use straw man arguments to help your team iterate towards an actual solution. So straw man arguments, typically it's a negative connotation because usually it's bad. So the idea is a straw man argument is a weaker, simplified, and often totally distorted version of an argument that is easier to argue against. So for the example I saw online, the canonical example is if a teacher says we need to spend more time working on math, a parent might call up and complain and say, hey, I hear you hate English and writing. But they are often, I found them to be a very useful tool with teams because like when you have a problem and you don't know a solution, or you have a solution, but you're not sure that it's the right solution, but because you're sort of the leader, people will follow your lead. A straw man argument can be something good because it gives people something to kick apart and point out that they're wrong.
Right.
So if you needed to say, you need to process a file, millions of lines, like a 10 million line file, and say, okay, well, we're just going to, a straw man argument might be, okay, we're just going to, read it one line at a time and loop through it, and that'll be good. And you put out the disclaimer that, hey, this is a straw man argument, which gives people permission to just tell you that it's totally wrong. And hopefully you start getting responses like, well, could we break up the file? Could we, instead of reading one line at a time, which is IO expensive, right? Can we read it 10 megs at a time, or 100 lines at a time, 1,000? Like there's all these things that if people don't know how to begin, giving them a bad way to begin gives them permission, gives them an idea to argue against, that they can point out, oh, well, this reading one line at a time is not going to work because it's just going to be slow because you're going to read a line, process it, go to disk, read a line, process it, go to disk. So let's read 1,000 lines at a time.
Right. It kind of reminds me of the pointing system for product. Like when people would do like Fibonacci and they're going to go point 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, that kind of thing. And some of the product folks would say, it's not necessarily the points are representative technically of the time, but they do get a conversation started. Because if somebody says 5 and the person says, that's not a 5, that's a 3 or a 2, then you can flesh out more details because you have like a baseline by which you've kind of triggered people's curiosity again. So it sounds like a kind of a similar method here is you exaggerate your straw man and then people go, well, no, we couldn't do that. That's way too much. Well, why is that? And then you use that to facilitate your conversation.
Yeah, similar. Yeah, where pointing conversations become more useful when it becomes clear that people have different ideas about what to do in their head. The straw man is useful when you get a team that doesn't. A thing that I have found many times is people get paralysis when they stare at a blank piece of paper or a blank thing. Like, hey, we need to create a service that's going to handle this. And people are like, well, how are we going to do that? How are we going to, create a service that's going to apply business logic to it? You're like, well, I don't know. We could have some endpoint. I should have had more examples. I should have had some examples of good straw men that I've used in the past.
Well, we can workshop something here. Let's come up with our own idea. Let's say you and I want to start a company, and the company is going to be one that uses like some kind of deep learning to identify objects that we want to remove from something. So like this one I was tinkering with recently was identifying weeds in a sea of grass. And then we would use that to laser the weeds or find some kind of way to destroy the weeds. So we built a model. So let's say we're trying to figure out where to begin. We know we want to build a machine or deep learning kind of algorithm that can do this. And then we're staring at that blank piece of paper that you're talking about. And we're like, we want to know, what's the first step that we need to take?
I imagine the first thing you'd need to do is pick a AI platform, right, or a deep learning system. And I don't know anything about them yet, but if I was going to throw out a straw man, I would throw out the wrong one.
Okay.
So ChatGPT is going to identify weeds in a picture.
Got it.
Right.
Which is
Obviously
clearly
it's
wrong.
not. It's totally wrong. ChatGPT literally is text. There are
Yeah.
others. So say, okay, we're going to use ChatGPT and we're going to send it a picture and it'll tell us where in the picture the weeds are, and then we'll aim our laser and we'll destroy the weeds.
Got it. And we're throwing out a wildly wrong example just to facilitate to facilitate conversation because of the fact that we don't know where to begin or how to proceed from there.
Right. And in my case, as the leader throwing out the straw man, I know, eventually where the process is, we're going to use AI to view and render this image in some way. It's going to return a recommendation. We're going to take the recommendation. We're going to feed it into our laser of doom to burn the weeds, right? And even saying that much gives you something of a straw man. But by saying it wrongly, right? So we're gonna take an AI thing. It's gonna be ChatGPT because I know it doesn't do images, and we're gonna feed it directly into the laser, right? So it's ChatGPT, and then take the response and feed it directly into the laser, right? And so obviously, we'll know you'd want to, if this is any kind of realistic service, you would take the answer and you'd put that in a database, or you'd put it in a queue or something, so you can go back and look at it and persist it and yada yada yada. So you put out this very simplified, wrong, not like terribly wrong, but just overly simplified to the point of, like people then start putting, oh no, you can't feed the result directly into the laser. You need to persist it so we can replay it if we need to, or we need to approve the plan. So there needs to be like a human step. So you need to put it in a database and then show it to a screen, and then somebody has to hit the button, which would absolutely have to be big, red, and shiny.
Of course. Actually, the thought of arming ChatGPT with a laser in general plays into some great AI fears for a lot of people.
Having played with ChatGPT, I imagine you would be feeding it. I don't think you could get a coordinate system out of it.
What this kind of reminds me of is there's a running joke on the internet that people are more willing to correct people than they are to help people. And so what you'll do on places like Stack Overflow or Reddit, if you want your question answered and you're having trouble getting people to listen to you or talk or something, just because like no one wants to engage with you or answer your question, you ask the question and then you post it, and then you sign into a separate Reddit account, and answer your own question, but answer it intentionally incorrectly. And then people will flock to, correcting your incorrect answer and eventually give you the correct answer. And this has happened many times. I've actually done this myself, and it is actually a phenomenon. Like, people do not want to help someone just asking for help, but they are more than willing to tell somebody they're wrong and give them, all the reasons they're wrong. So this is kind of a similar thing.
I've never had a Stack Overflow question that nobody answered. I've only had like 6 or 7
this
questions.
This is more for Reddit for me, for this one, for my personal one. But yeah, in Stack Overflow, it would be the same thing. But maybe back in the day, before most every question was answered on Stack Overflow, closer to 15 years ago or something.
Yes. It's definitely a thing that people are. It's easier to correct something than it is to create.
Right, and it's kind of an interesting way to kind of maybe hijack psychology to facilitate creativity in a sense, right? So all these methods, whether it's answering your own question incorrectly, or just setting up the straw man with a wildly incorrect architecture or something, or doing a pointing system and then spitting out, I think this is a 50-point story, to change a line of text. Anything to get people talking is something, instead of a white piece of paper, a blank piece of paper.
Yes, that's the key right there, is you're trying to get people talking. And as a leader, often if you talk and you say something that sounds reasonable, people will defer to you. Especially I find the older you get and the more that you can talk, the better you bullshit artist you are. I was going to say the more you can talk with conviction, but really it's just bullshit artist. I say things that are wildly wrong and people believe me.
I was just about to ask you, like, does this apply to you? Are you lying to me right
Yeah,
now?
maybe. But it's good you asked the question because it's not true. People do not believe me unless it's technical. But by putting it out there and it's wrong and kind of giving them permission, it makes it easier for people to say, "Oh, no, it's wrong because of this," and then you can, you have to respond positively to that and lean into it. Like, okay, cool, that's wrong. Why is it wrong?
Yeah.
So what would be right? And then from there, you can iterate away from the straw man to an actual workable proposal. So, a real AI system that can analyze pictures
Mhm.
and some kind of way to take that output from the AI and persist it into the UI. And then finally, some translation into however your laser works so that you can target and fire.
Yeah. And it reminds me of that the South Park joke where you have steps and then you have the question marks, profit.
Yeah.
Right. So you
Step
just
one,
start
steal
writing.
underwear.
Yeah. So I mean, even that is fantastic. So you can go through and like at least you've written down your steps. At least you have a goal in mind, and
Right.
then you can iterate over the question mark part.
Yeah, exactly right. So you start off with the concept, and the concept can be totally inane, like steel underpants. And then you don't know how you're going to get there, and then you know where you want to go. Step 3, profit, and throwing out the straw man of, okay, well, we're going to steal underpants, and then I don't know, we're going to sell them, right? And then step 3, profit. Obviously, nobody wants to buy stolen underpants.
This is a weird example to go
We
with.
are going. We have AI powered lasers and underpants gnomes, and yet we have no sharks with lasers on their freaking foreheads,
Mhm.
and that is a shame. And we should wrap it up
Yeah,
with that. With that, underwear laser gnomes powered by AI for profit.
Then we can
I,
workshop that idea next time to see how
yeah,
it can
we'll
happen.
workshop that. So thank you for listening. I'm Jeffrey Sherman.
And I'm Isaac Askew, and this is Never Rewrite.